shared before. In times past, I've had a starter and I would share the starter with people. Well, this is something that gets about the same results, but it's completely different. And to me, it is so much more convenient to do than keeping a starter, because you can make an entire week's worth of dough, keep it in your fridge, and then just pull out what you need and bake it. You don't have to go through the whole process of mixing up a new batch of bread anytime you want bread. So from now on, this is how I'll be doing my sourdough. I think this will be our my third week of doing it this way. And I love it. Keeping the dough in the fridge, I always have bread dough ready to go. And I mean, it's perfect for pizza dough, perfect for anything. And it only takes 40 minutes to rise once you take it out of the fridge. And then it takes about 30 to 45 minutes to cook, just depending. And you can do, this is a very basic, very basic bread recipe. There's no sugar because it ferments for a while. You don't have to have the sugar to force the yeast to go ahead and activate, because it ferments over such a long period of time that the yeast actually pulls the sugar and the starches out of the flour, and that's what it uses. I'm going to link, after we get finished with this, I'll put a link in the comments to the original blog post where I found this recipe, because she has, the blogger who put it up has all kinds of, tons of information about it. But if you are doing the Trim Healthy Mama version, the Trim Healthy Mama plan, you can actually make this with 100% whole wheat flour. And if you let it ferment for 72 hours before you make your first batch of bread, it actually, the fermentation with the whole wheat flour, it breaks down the natural carbs in the bread, and it's actually a low carb bread. When I can get good whole wheat flour again, like I like, because I am incredibly picky. My mom still has a wheat mill, a wheat grinder, and growing up, we would actually buy the whole wheat berries and grind it ourselves, and then make the bread from the fresh ground flour. And I'm ruined. I'm a flour snob now. I cannot just do any whole wheat flour. So I'm picky. So once I can get access to that again, I'll probably start making the whole wheat, and that way I can have low carb bread. But anyway, this is made with all-purpose flour, so it is white bread. There's absolutely nothing good for you in this bread other than the fact it doesn't have all the preservatives that store-bought bread. So this is what it looks like. I mixed this up, well, whatever day it was I posted the picture, so I guess about a week ago. And this is what she looks like. It's almost a week old. I have pulled some out of it. I made some bread the other day. But I'm going to go ahead and use up the rest of it and make 2 loaves or 3. I don't know how many's in here today, and show you how I mix up the next batch of starter. So this is a very sticky dough, so you'll need to use lots of flour, or you can put water on your hands, and that'll help it not stick as bad. But, and I actually have like a dough thing somewhere, but like I said, my house is halfway packed up. And you want to be really careful and not beat all of the air bubbles out whenever you take it out. Whenever you start kneading it, you don't want it to be don't be too rough with it. And the good thing about this, since it is a sourdough, you do not have to wash your container in between batches of dough. I'm going to mix up my next batch of dough just like this, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with it. It'll just roll and be happy, and already have a little head start on the fermenting for next time. So, but this stuff is incredible pizza dough. I mean, it's like thebomb.com. And if you hear commentary in the background, somehow Olivia has managed to stay in the house, and she decided to do her chores. Yeah. So if you hear someone talking, that's who it is. But yeah, I think I'm gonna make two loaves. And this is really floppy dough, and it's not gonna make a really beautiful loaf. It's gonna be very rustic. So if you're into rustic food, this is the recipe for you. So you're gonna do, I'm making homemade chicken soup for supper tonight since we've all got colds, and this is gonna be incredible with it. So after you do that, just get it on your pan. This is a very loved, very used pan, in case you can't tell. Do it like that. Set it over there. Let it rise, and then after it's risen for 40 minutes, it won't double in size. It's not going to behave.
We got another wild dog.
Okay, thank you. It's not going to behave like normal bread. It will slowly rise, and it will do most of its rising in the oven, but even then it's not going to be spectacular. Just bake it at 400 for 30, I think 35 was actually spot on for that the other day, but I will let you know for sure. So now, to mix up the next part, can you bring me a tablespoon measuring spoon? We're just going to go right back in this without washing it. And the recipe, I have written down so I don't have to look at my phone, is 3 cups of warm water. So there's 2. Get that one. So 3 tablespoons of warm water. So that's a teaspoon. I need a bigger one, the other big one.
This one?
Yes. Well, hey, we're keeping it real. This is just real life. And then 2 tablespoons of yeast. And 6.5 cups of flour. If you use whole wheat flour, you'll only need 6 cups of flour because it is a much more thirsty flour, and you have to use more water with flour. So for this, just back off a little bit on it. So now, like I said, this is not a sweet dough. I would love to figure out how to make it sweeter, so I could use it for cinnamon rolls or like an apple bread or something like that. So I put 4 cups in, and I'm going to stop real quick and then add the salt. I don't like to add salt right on top of my yeast. I know you can do it and get away with it, but I've always been so terrified that it's going to kill my yeast. My hands are dirty, sister. I can't do it. So the original recipe called for 1.5 tablespoons of salt, but that just seemed like a lot to me. So I just did a tablespoon, and it was fine. And it turned out great. So there's that, and I need a big spoon. A big spoon. Did you put one in here for me? Alright, thank you. And then you're just going to mix it up in here. And towards the end, I'll actually have to stop and use my hands to get the rest of it mixed in. Now you could mix this up in a mixer and then put it in your container to ferment. I just haven't done that yet because it really doesn't take that long to do it. And this will be ready to go tomorrow if you want. You can make it tomorrow after you let it ferment. I'm going to let it sit out on the counter for about 2 to 3 hours, and it'll do some pretty dramatic rising, and it'll double or triple in size, and then it'll fall back down on itself. And this will be ready to go tomorrow. I just like to give it a little bit more time to ferment. It will have a more sour taste, like a sure enough sour, like spaghetti warehouse sour taste if you don't put it in the fridge. If you leave it out overnight and let it ferment, it'll be super sour. But putting it in the fridge does like a slow ferment, and so while it does have the sour taste, it's a very mild sour taste, and it is incredible. Absolutely incredible. So let's see, that was 5 cups. And I don't think I'm going to be able to do 6.5 cups today. I think probably 6 is going to be the limit. But it is a lot more humid outside, so, you know, the weather affects everything. The children, the dogs, the allergies. It affects everything. Another pirate. Hi, Kate. Hi, Ben. So, you want to try to get as much of the flour mixed in as possible to where there's really no dry spots. But honestly, it's not the end of the world if it is. So, yeah, somebody popped up. Now my hands are all covered in bread dough. Lovely. Hey, but at least I'm not boiling jelly over on my stove today. It could be worse. But anyway, this is what it looks like.
I got the tallest seat and you the biggest.
It's moist all the way through and it's very sticky. So now all I'm going to do is put the lid on. I'll come back later and clean up everything off this and let it set out on my counter for 2 to 3 hours, and then I'll stick it in the fridge. And I probably won't make bread until, honestly, probably until Monday, because we've got stuff going on from now till Monday. But you can keep this and use it in your fridge for up to 2 weeks if it lasts that long, although I think after you taste it, it won't last that long. But yeah, it'll last for up to 2 weeks. And this is just a cookie jar I got from Walmart. You don't want it to be airtight because it needs to breathe. It's a little living being. It needs to breathe. And this works great. It'll hold the entire batch of dough. It doesn't like rise up out of the top. And it's perfect, and it doesn't take up much space in your fridge. But I'll check back in later. I'll post a picture of what my bread looks like when I'm about to stick it in the oven. And then I'll post a picture later once I take it out and show you what the inside looks like and all that. So I will go find the link for the original recipe and put that where y'all can go. And hopefully all of this made sense with all the distractions and all the starting and stopping and all the kids walking through and talking to us.
Come on, Kay, let's go get a drink.
So anyway, if you have questions, put them in the comments and I'll answer them, because I'll probably be a little bit more coherent when I don't have people talking to me. But anyway, thanks for stopping by.